tongue that we talk, it will talk back to you. And you maybe say all those things. I didn't want to say it. It's your fault. I was I was obeying God. So everything will be obvious. You'll be so embarrassed by your own body. Your body will be against you. And here your forelock is just disbelieving forelock. I mean, how amazing everything. That's why the Quran is so amazing. It fits with everything precisely. Nothing is off balance. You read one thing and it will completely connect with this. Also, this also proves that, many among the other millions of proofs that this is the word of God. You know, and God is telling us about our weaknesses, that we love material things excessively. This is who we are. I mean, we can easily judge ourselves. If we love this worldly things so much more than God, then there's a problem. We are falling in this category, in this. I mean, we have to put our priorities in the right spot. God is first in our life. Then everything comes. If something else is before God, then our priorities are completely off balance. Whether it would be anything, the person you're idolizing, or your family, or your money, or anything. So this shifts the balance, and you fall into these verses. Then God says, do you not realize that? Does he not realize that the graves will be opened on that day? As we is how amazingly is connecting to the previous verse. The earth will be spilled out its weights. And that's pretty much it. It means that the graves will be open. I mean, people that died 5,000 years ago, their body doesn't even exist, but the matter that holds their body, the atoms, are still there. Like these atoms that I have in my body, and every 10 years they completely change. You get new body basically, but the essence of the atoms are still going to be in the ground forever. And that day they will come out, and they will be back to normal, and they will bear witness against us, as we bear witness against that the human being is unappreciative. Yeah. And then all the secrets are brought out, and then God says they will find out on that day that their Lord has been fully. He knew everything. So a smart person will try their best not to, if there's a slight smell of something, that maybe it's idol worship, maybe it's not. If it's not con, let's just be safe. I mean, God sees your effort. You're trying your best to stay away from idol worship, and God sees it. you know Even though, in that sense, if you're sincere and you're honest, even though you make a mistake, but God sees your sincerity, your honesty. You're trying your best. Obviously we make mistakes on a daily basis. We commit sins every day. But we try on our part, that we try to avoid sins. We try to repent. We try to see and evaluate our life on a daily basis, on a routine basis, that how I'm doing and everything. And these are the kind of testing that God tells us, that you can test yourself. What are your priorities? And you cannot lie to yourself. You may lie to somebody else, but alone, if you really evaluate yourself, this is the very critical thing. When you have a business, and there's a routinely meetings, uh, 6 month, quarterly, and all those meetings, and they evaluate. Pretty much every business, every job, there's evaluation process. You diagnose the problem, you assess it, and you make a planning, and you intervene, and then you come back and reevaluate, and you see what the success is. I mean, how did they come out with the COVID vaccine? The trial and basis, they evaluate the result, and they go back, and they redo it, and they go back and they redo it, and until the product is finally finished, and it's done, and all it's tested, and this is the vaccine, is perfect in its form, and now let's give it to the people. This is how you treat the religion. You trial, you evaluate yourself, you see how you're improving. If you're falling into the material things, if you don't like worshiping God alone, if there's a bother problem, you keep reevaluating until you make your product the best product. Is called the worship God alone. Devotion to absolutely God alone. Your religion is absolutely devoted to God alone. This is our product, and we need to work on that. And we have the whole life. There was a guy. He makes sushi, and all his life, this was his target, to make the best sushi ever. And he was already making it, but until the age of, like, very old, he keep perfecting his sushi. He'll go back and he'll say, maybe I can change this, maybe what is this, to making it better. And we have the God's book, and we have an awesome teacher, God himself, and he helps us. And all we need to do is just reevaluating and staying away from idol worship as much as possible. So inshallah, I'll stop here, and I'll be open for the discussion. Any questions? And I'm sorry we had a little trouble today. May God forgive us. Thank you.
MashaAllah, Adam, very beautiful study, and you made it up for the delay. Praise God.
Praise God. Thank you.
MashaAllah, very nice.
MashaAllah, thank you. Does anybody has any comments or questions about the verses we read? Okay, I mean, if nobody has any comments about the verses we read, we do have an off-topic question as well, so we can talk about that.
Sure, go ahead, Solomon. I'm mostly on the mute today.
Okay, sure. Where did we end at? What verse?
Surah 100, last verse was, I think. Let me see.
Okay,
Uh,
we started at 100?
no, we started at Surah 98 and we ended at Surah 100, verse number 11.
Okay, I think because last time didn't we do 99?
Yeah, 98. No, Surah Al Qadr was the last one she did.
Okay, I don't know, for some reason I put it out wrong. Okay, good.
I did 2 surahs.
Yeah. Yeah, they were the same. Okay, so yeah, that was 99. Yeah, I think so. There's some confusion. Okay, cool. Yeah, so basically the question was regarding, I had posted this also in a chat message before, but basically, a sister from I believe Germany, had a question, and it was about being able to work, and the verse that talks about, I believe 434, that says, talks about men being responsible for the women. Her question was that there was a person who was trying to tell her that based on this verse, the women are not supposed to work and they're supposed to stay at home. So she wanted to find out that, is it true that, if you are married, that you're supposed to stay at home, and if you're a woman, you're supposed to stay at home, and if you're married, then you're not supposed to work. And I did respond to her by telling her that there was no such thing, but for clarity, I had told her that we will discuss that more in detail at our study, God willing, because she always listens to the studies. So God willing, we can discuss this as an important thing, because I've also come across a few people in the past that had this understanding, and just wanted, and actually the person specifically wanted to get everybody else's thoughts on it besides myself too. So that's why I encourage other people to participate and discuss. Yeah, she specially named Ali and another by name also, if you guys remember. So um, I don't know if she knows the other people by name. So, but everybody, I think she wanted to hear other people's thoughts.
I just wanted to say this, that nowhere in Quran is very clear book and fully detailed, mashallah. So we do not see any prohibition on women to work if they have any skills. God says their qualities, He created them equal to one another, but different qualities. So when God says he made a man, the man captain of the ship, meaning he holds the major responsibilities, and that is for the benefit of the woman, right? And if woman wants to work, they can, because the captain will always uh, discuss, or like Rashad has said, he will consult with his, second in command, and which is the wife, and they decide, decision of the house and major decisions together. But he's basically is responsible by God's design to be the main, caretaker, provider, bread earner, or whatever you call it. So the woman can focus on other things, right, which are as if not same, uh, carry same importance, but even more, like giving birth to children, their education, um, teaching them, and all that, and other things at home. But if she would like to, in today's time, women acquire a lot of education, and if they would like to work, they can have that due consultation too. So if there is an arrangement there where, there are arrangements, like there are daycares and all that to take care of children, and people prefer, they learn some stuff in the daycares and all that, the woman can earn too. But as brother Solomon made it clear in his post, that the woman can decide with that money, the man should not expect to be that the main source. But if she would like to, say, a woman says, we should have a bigger house. So the man says, it needs this amount of income. A woman decides to, like, look, I have this kind of skill and I can pitch in. So that's upon, her will. But to say that she should not be working because she's not responsible, yes, she's not responsible main to be the main bread earner, but God did not anywhere prohibit a woman to do anything. We know that there have been like queens and stuff who took care of like big matters in the past, and yeah. So I would say like this is not true. If something else comes to my mind, then I will add that. So far, that it's basically, that it's women's decision, and they mutually, if they decide this is what needs to happen, and they can do that. Okay, that's it for me.
Yeah, mashallah. Good. I also wanted to say that, in addition to what you said about the about prohibiting women from working. I mean, this is like a very sort of like a Taliban sort of mentality, very extremist, and it's an innovation. And we know that I mean that if you prohibit anything that God didn't prohibit, you're fabricating a lie attributing to God and innovating, and these are serious things, so people who just make up these prohibitions based on their own opinions are committing a very, very serious crime without realizing it. I mean, they're disregarding God's revelations and distorting God's word and distorting the religion. And as Ali mentioned too, I mean, if you're following anything besides the Quran, these prohibitions are not in the Quran. And people who are following their own opinions, I mean, they're setting up another God besides God, who's telling them to do these things, and making the religion difficult, and so many things, oppressing women in so many ways. And we see the results of that in the so-called Islamic countries too, where they have set up these types of extraneous laws. And the devil has been trying very hard to bring these types of things into submission too, as with circumcision and all of these things, right? So we have to be very careful. We have to be absolutely sure, if you don't have any solid evidence. I mean, this is for anybody, for things like that. Like, it's very important that we don't take it upon ourselves to make up these sort of laws. That's all.
I just would like to add one more important issue here, that God knows, what is best for us. And the woman, if, for example, if woman is taking care of children, taking care of the household and all that, bringing other kind of investment in the house by, doing so many things. So that is, if a woman decides not to work as well, right? Let's say she has a degree and she's busy with children, and she could earn a lot of money, but she decides, no, look, I don't have, that kind of energy that I take care of kids and do that. And a husband should not force her either, because he is the sole responsible. He needs to look after the kids and her needs as well, if in case she decides not to. So because I see a lot of there are some cultures. I used to work with women who was being assaulted at home, and especially from South Asian culture, their husbands, like from certain countries, literally beating them, forcing them to work, like right after they would land from the other country as a migrant, and then keep their paychecks, and they will not even have bank accounts. So that's the other extreme. So
Yeah.
God knows what woman can bear. So if she, if she feels comfortable not doing work outside, a man should respect that too. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, Masha, that's a good point. I mean, definitely. I mean, they. I mean, if God says that a man is made responsible, right? So it's his responsibility to provide food. It's not the wife's responsibility. I mean, you have a ship, and you have to keep it balanced. And if both of them, I mean, depending on the responsibilities, right? But most of the time, woman has other qualities, and she has obligations too, right? So she has to take care of her actual duties, which is not bread earning as well, right? So if she decides to do that, or whatever else it is, it's totally up to her whether she wants to work or not. I mean, a husband should never dictate whether she can work or not. If she wants to work, she can work. If she doesn't want to work, she doesn't have to work. But for example, a man cannot sit at home and say, I don't have a job, and you go and you work, or something like that. Either way, like, it's totally up to her what she wants to do with her life. If she wants to work or not, it's her responsibility. I mean, it's her choice. Given the fact that she's able to do her duties at home, first of all. I mean, if she's not able to, do her duties at home, for example, take care of the kids and everything, and she wants to go and work and all that, then obviously they can talk about it, where, her priorities come first, where, the kids have to be taken care of, and these types of things as well, right? But if she's doing all that, or they have, some kind of arrangement where, her duties are not being neglected, and she wants to do anything, with her time. I mean, these days, even working is so flexible. Like, a lot of right now with the whole COVID thing, I mean, most of the population is working from home anyways, and a lot of for a lot of professions, right? And so, like, people are flexible, and maybe if there's a situation where she can work, no, the husband or anybody for that matter should never stop them from earning money. And then if they do earn money, I mean, she's not obligated to provide the money for the household, because the husband's responsible. Just because the woman is bringing in money doesn't mean that she has to give that money for the household. I mean, she can use that money for herself, do whatever she wants. But for the husband, obviously, if he earns money, I mean, he has to contribute it to the household, because he is the one who's made responsible, and that's what the verse says. And the other part of it, obviously, being the bread earner. Obviously, I mean, this verse is like the most misunderstood verse in the traditional Islamic, world. And I mean, there's so many aspects of it, but I mean, just from the work aspect, I mean, is one thing, and then the captain of the ship and not beating, I think that's like a whole other discussion.
Assalamu alaikum, sister. I just want to add a little bit more about this topic. Like, my point is about this whole verse, like, whatever I hear. God did not short of the verse from the Quran. For example, whatever commandments God, like if God need to tell the believers that your wife should not working or woman should not working, God can say simply in the verse, in the any verse in the Quran, and God can say that. But God didn't say that. So Quran, God made the religion so easy for us. This is the human being who made the religion difficult for themselves. That was, it's a very simple way. God said God made the man bread earner. Bread earner means like it's a captain of the ship. So like everybody explained this verse very clearly. That's all his job. Like woman and man then decide if, for example, woman wanna work, it's no problem. God gave it to this option. God gave it to husband and wife, whatever they decide. So seeing this, woman should not working and man is the only working, man has to work only. This is look like a traditional Muslim type of thing. And as a submitter, we have to be very careful about that. God makes the religion easy. God write it down. Whatever we have don't need to do, God tell us in the Quran very clearly. After that, we don't need to go on the under personal opinions on other things. Thank you.
Yeah, mashallah. I mean, this is a very easy one to tackle, actually. We have a very clear verses in the Quran. Surah number 4 is there's a lot of rules about marriage. Dowry has to be given by man, and not the woman is giving to the man. And the man is a bread earner, and the woman is, as God has balanced both of them, that she bears the children and holds them for 9 months, and she goes through all that trouble and sickness and labor, and then she's the one taking care of the babies in the beginning. So God did not put a burden on a woman to, yeah, you have to go also earn your money. God put that burden on a man, that you are the one responsible for the family. Even if you get divorced, you cannot kick her out of the home. She can stay there as long, I think, as long she wants, and then until she get married, or I think there's a time limit or something. But this is how the system works. But to say that, that God has prohibited a woman, no, that we are saying a blasphemy against God. Does not say that. Absolutely. Even if you say that, that is very wrong to say that God has prohibited, because we have a clear, I mean, it would have been stated in uh, especially in Surah 4 or somewhere, that the women are not allowed to work. It will be, God will not hide such an important commandment in a gray kind of words. God will say it black and white, that this is what's supposed to be done, as God says that man must give the dowry on the time of the wedding, when they get married. So if you twist some verses, and this is how people manipulate the religion, they'll twist one word and take it out of context and show it that, okay, this is what it means. I mean, it's not what it is. And on the other hand, I would say that a husband and wife, you are like a family. You can negotiate. There's nothing wrong with that. If suppose the female has a very high degree, and a husband has a very average degree, or doesn't even have a degree, and then they mutually decide, oh, kids are a little bit older now, that I will, the wife say, not forced by force, but she said, I will work, and because I can make a lot more money and we can have a better life, and you take care of home. I mean, there's nothing wrong against religion. There's nothing wrong with it. They both decided for better for their home. But a man cannot force a wife that I will stay home, and that it's your responsibility to go work. Even though, and also when you give dowry to a woman, it's her choice if she wants to share with you or not. You cannot force her. That's her money now. So these are some of the things I wanted to add, mashallah. Thank you.
Just one more thing. It's the same things everybody's saying, but just a little clarification that there are prohibitions very clear outlined in the Quran, and to prohibit something which is lawful or legal in God's eyes, those prohibitions are very clearly outlined. And if somebody else makes it a prohibition while it's not in the Quran, it's just very simple to weed out, It's not there. It's not in the Quran, like Rashad says. It's not in the Quran, we don't follow it. And God could have easily, like Brother Adam just said, he said, Surah Women. It's like Rashad says, that is the second longest surah in the Quran. And it's in the favor of women, in the for the protection of women, because women were treated really badly before Quran came. There were baby girls being buried alive and whatnot. So Quran gave the equal status to women, first time outlined in a book, never before seen. Either it was omitted before or whatnot from other scriptures. Never such detail in favor of women, and really clearly, what who they are, and how God created them, and what roles and responsibilities of women and a man in the marriage and all that is there. Even like the tiniest, like how women should walk and what they should wear. It's all in the Quran. So if there was something like that, it's not like the women never worked before. We see Sheba in the history. She was a queen, a female queen in time of Solomon. So it's not that there was no example of women working before or taking care of big matters, that then God could have said, stop working now. The women in the past did work. So God does not shy away from citing any example. God says whether it's like a tiny mosquito or bigger. So this is a big, God knows the future. God knew the future, that women will be working, and could have easily put it there, that it's a prohibition for women. That's it. So yeah, you have to be confident, because it's not in the Quran. There is no indication for anything like that. So
Yeah, mashallah, I think that's a very important point about the laws, because one, I mean, that surah has all these laws, and if there was something like that, it would be there. And also, like, if you look at the Quran, God calls it the statute book, so it has all the laws, and God says, it contains straightforward verses as far as the laws are concerned. That's why we have the Quran revealed in Arabic, because everything is so specific, and it cannot be misconstrued because of that. And everything is precisely written in that way. So all the laws, if we look at it, right, I mean, for our daily life, I mean, they are clearly spelled out, like you said. So it's important to remember that, because when people come out with these types of things, more than I mean, more than often, I mean, those are always like, they try to connect the dots, like, oh, this verse says, you have to honor your husbands while the husband is away. So that means, I mean, the husband can be away, you could be at work, honoring the husband while you're away from your husband, right? Doesn't mean you're at home and he's at work. He could be at home and you could be at work, for example, and he could still be away from you, and you would still have to honor him in his absence, right? So we just have to be very mindful of that. If God wanted to say that, like it was already said, it would be specifically mentioned.
yeah, about that, like to honor your husband in his absence is about chastity, keeping the chastity. It doesn't matter whether you're working or not. You could do that, like a husband is away and you're at home alone.
Yeah, you
You
could be at home committing adultery, for example.
Yeah, now you can do it online. You can be anywhere. You can be an aeroplane. And do it.
Yeah.
Chatting with someone behind his back.
exactly. So it has nothing to do with the job.
Yes.
It's his absence, and that's a different commandment.
Mashallah, I also want to something a little bit on the side note, that God knows our innermost thoughts. He knows that our intentions. like you give dowry to your wife, and then obviously if you talk to her nicely, if you emotionally manipulate her, like your family and this and that, you should put that money back in our account, or if she's working and you say, you know what, I mean, you can manipulate in an emotionally way to convince her that she needs to work. Now, God knows our intention. Your intention was you didn't want to work, and you emotionally, this is my understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you emotionally manipulate her, and then she start working, though it was a mutual understanding they came to, but your intention was that you didn't want to work, and you talked her out of it, and then you made her work. And that only does not apply to this situation. And many other daily factors, you manipulate somebody else in a way that your intentions were different, but at the end it was a mutual understanding, but you started off on the wrong side, and God knows our intention. And that I think falls on our part, that it is a sin, I think. Mashallah, thank you.
And one more thing I want to add in this thing, making up any laws which is not prohibited in the Quran, like this thing, if you prohibit that a woman cannot work, is clearly idol worship, in my personal opinion. And because it's not in the Quran, so you cannot prohibit somebody, or you cannot say to somebody, oh, you cannot work because God said so. God said very clear things in the Quran. And if you make these type of innovations, it's clearly idol worship. Thank you.
And anytime we see a lot of single women nowadays, they're forced to work. They don't have some. Unfortunately, if they didn't get married and they end up alone, we have society. They're working, and some as a single mother, they are forced to work. I mean, how would you define those then? I mean, they have to work. Against their choice. So it just depends on the situation. But you cannot say that I don't want to work. I mean, if you're married and your husband is providing, I mean, obviously you don't have to work, but don't make it a law that I'm not supposed to work. If you don't feel like working, you don't want to work. It's your God-given right. You don't have to. You can depend on your husband, but don't make it a law, mashallah. Thank you.
So yeah, I think I'm a little confused. You're saying that, yeah, you're saying that there's nothing that's saying she cannot work, right? So if she wants to work, she can work.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, if
up
she
to her.
doesn't,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, if she doesn't want to work, don't make it a law that I'm not supposed to work. You say, I don't feel like working. I don't, I want to, I'd
Yeah,
rather
but I
stay
mean,
home.
the important point is that the husband should not even make her feel that she has to do it. Like
Yep.
for example,
Hmm.
if the husband's having a tough time, then he needs to suck it up and he needs to implore God. He shouldn't
Yep.
bother the wife with it and say, hey, you should work, can you work, and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
if she wants to work, it's up to her. That's the deal, because
Yep.
you're the one he's responsible, right? Not the
Yep.
wife. So that's the main point.
Yeah, you can manipulate her and talk her out of it, and then make her, feel bad or something like that. It's her
Yeah,
100% free choice. You cannot
exactly.
pressure her in any way.
Yeah,
Yeah, very important balance needed here. Like this
Mm.
situation can, you know, can be reversed as well the other way, like just with this example that man says no because you have a bigger degree or you have more skills. How about I I don't want to work. You go work, do work. The main thing is once again they can decide together. Let's say in some cases, if the woman is really has skilled, a degree or whatever, education or background, and now she says, I for the temporary measures, maybe they can make arrangement with each other, due consultation, and once again, it has to be woman's choice, right? Not to be pressured. But I'm just bringing the whatever scenario, a possible scenario, and that, let's say she could earn two times more than that. They say she says, for a certain amount of time, I would like to work, and you can take care of the children. And with due consultation, there is no prohibition there either. Just to throw out there. So
Yeah, and I also want to add that also husbands can work from home too. So
yeah,
that just because they have to take care, they have to take care of the kids. I mean, you get the free vacation. Wife
exactly.
goes and works.
Yeah,
You
you
can
know,
maybe work from home or something and
there
take
are
care of
many
the.
variables,
Yeah.
many variables, but once again, there is no such law either way.
Yeah, but I kind of feel, I mean, personally, like I would feel very uncomfortable in a situation like that where send the woman out to work. I mean,
I
like
know.
because it's not about the really about the degree too, because and it's not always about the money too, because the thing is that God has given men and women certain qualities. I mean, men are physically, strong and able, and women also are. But I mean, there's reasons why God, for example, chooses the woman to be the teacher of the kids, right? I mean, women have different qualities. I mean, I can't get into the specifics, but um, I mean, there is a balance that God has put in place, and so I mean, you should never put your wife in a position that she has to go to work and you put her. I mean,
I
because
totally
I've seen.
agree.
The reason I'm saying that is I've seen people do that, and I don't think it's fair on them, But obviously, they're put in a position where they have to, But if a man, takes his responsibility seriously, God is able to provide for both of them, and the man should really, like try hard to just be the one who should never, have to go to his wife and tell him that she should work so that they can make ends meet. Like God, he should ask God to help him and be the breadwinner and do his part because that's his responsibility, right? I mean, if God says something is your responsibility, I mean, you better make it your responsibility, right? Don't put it on your wife or your kids or someone else. I mean, people do that and they put it on the wife. Not only these days they do not put it on the wife, put it on the kids as well, right? I mean, we see even in the Eastern countries, right? I mean, you see little kids, boys and girls, working, they're supposed to go to school and they send them out to work, for example, instead of sending them to school and things like that. I mean, and then, similar for the, wives as well. But I'm sure we don't have that problem in the Western world, but definitely with the wives, I mean, obviously, that could be abused.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. I absolutely agree because God knows what is best for a man and a woman. God knows, and women should, take advantage of that. Because I feel personally that it's too much burden for women to carry on with both things. A man should, because some men become lazy, or they say okay, because I have personally experienced that, and they abuse this, that they would not take jobs serious, or they would take casual jobs while the woman is just constantly working and taking care of kids. Like, literally, it can drive a woman crazy. So basically, this is a privilege. God has given woman a privilege to take advantage of that, but there is no restriction. That's what it comes to. Like, let's say the kids are grown up a little bit, they're going full time to school. She wants to work with absolute free will. Major responsibility is man's responsibility. But if the circumstances are that now she's not so worried about kids, they're going to school on themselves and, taking care. She's Both of them are taking care, making their lunches in the morning and sending them school, and they come home. Fine. Why not? There is no prohibition as long as it works for the. It's a team, right? Whatever is the best, because man does not have nurturing qualities. Like, if a woman is leaving little babies at home, I mean, not, she's not even nursing them, and then uh, a lot of women in 60s, when the women's liberation was really a big deal, this bottle milk started and all that, right? So it's so harmful. There's no replacement for mother's milk for the baby. And the women stopped nursing their babies, and they wanted to work outside because it was a new thing, and they wanted to smoke and all that. Fine. But then it added. What happened was that the crash, women started to crash and burn out because they thought it was a better thing. They were choosing to work outside. But by the way, I'm a feminist, been all my life, and I would definitely speak for women, and I, from my own experience, the women started to burn out because what happened was that they took on the jobs outside, but the job inside the home was never shared. They ended up doing both. So the women became like really mental health issues and depression and fatigue and whatnot caught them. It's fine. But certain men, they don't want to work so much. So I ended up doing everything, and I completely burnt out. Got burnt out. I wish I could have stayed home if I had the privilege to. So we have to see, it's all for women's advantage. If she wants to, fine. If she doesn't, a righteous man, a believing man, would take care of all needs of his family.
And I'll just say that in being nice behavior, that if you're a man and you work and you think that that's all my responsibility is, I'm not gonna do anything at home. That is, we should, like, whatever we can do at home to participate. And I mean, it's just for the good gesture you do, as far as cleaning, or washing dishes, or maybe cooking, or things like that. If you can do it, I mean, I would say this isn't a good gesture. We should participate as much at home. Mashallah. Just want to add it. Engagement. The typical Islamic culture is that the wife
What were
doesn't
you saying
work.
about cooking?
I'm sorry.
What were you saying about cooking?
Yeah, I mean, if you can cook for your wife, these are good things that you can do. Things for your wife, or your family. I mean, obviously, we live in a society. The work is, a lot of times, it's not that burden. You come home 3, 4 o'clock, and you have the rest of the day,
Yeah,
and we
Ali is
can
a great
share
cook, by the way.
responsibility. I can make grilled stuff, fried stuff, fried chicken, and stuff like this from popular, and some other curries, and that's all. That's all.
MashaAllah, Adam. Impressive.
Yeah, we used to have a Juma at our home, and then they loved my fried chicken, and they will like beg me, like, please, next time, please make me fried chicken, like KFC style. Praise God.
Both Ali and his wife were great cooks. Mashallah.
Praise God.
All right, so I guess if there are no more comments or questions, God willing, we can conclude the study. What do you guys think?
Yeah, inshallah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, mashallah. So thank you all for joining us. God willing, our next study will be on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, and God willing, I believe I'll be the teacher.
Okay, Islam.
Thank you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.